The Titanic. The full untold story of that deadly night, April 14th, 1912, 11:40 p.m. The largest ship ever built by human hands is moving through the North Atlantic at full speed in the dead of night, through waters filled with ice. Inside, 2,224 people are asleep, eating, laughing, dancing. None of them know they have less than 3 hours to live. And here is what they never taught you in school. This disaster did not have to happen. It was not bad luck. It was a series of decisions made by real people that sent over 1,500 human beings to the bottom of the ocean. This is the full story. The ship. The RMS Titanic was not just a ship. It was a statement. Built by the White Star Line in Belfast, Ireland, it took 3,000 men 3 years to construct. At 882 feet long and 46,000 tons, it was the largest moving object ever created by mankind. It had a heated swimming pool, a squash court, a gymnasium, fine dining rooms that rivaled the best restaurants in London. First class, passengers paid the equivalent of $100,000 in today's money for a one-way ticket. The ship was called unsinkable, not by engineers, but by a marketing brochure. That one word would haunt history forever. On April 10th, 1912, the Titanic left Southampton, England, on its very first voyage, bound for New York City. On board were some of the wealthiest people in the world. Business tycoons, politicians, immigrants chasing a new life. All of them united by one belief, that they were on the safest ship ever built. The warnings nobody listened to. 110 to 210, here is the part that should make your blood run cold. On the day of the disaster, the Titanic received no fewer than 6 iceberg warnings from other ships in the area. One message came from the SS Californian at 9:40 p.m., warning of a massive ice field directly ahead. The wireless operator on the Titanic, overworked and overwhelmed with passenger telegrams, replied with a sharp message. "Shut up, I am busy." That message was sent less than 2 hours before impact. Captain Edward Smith, despite the warnings, did not slow the ship. He did not change course. The Titanic was moving at 22.5 knots, nearly full speed, through one of the most ice-dense stretches of the North Atlantic. Why? Historians believe the pressure to arrive in New York on time, to make headlines, to impress J. Bruce Ismay, the chairman of White Star Line who was on board, played a direct role in the decision to keep speed. Speed over safety, image over lives. 11:40 p.m. The impact, the lookouts in the crow's nest had no binoculars. They had been misplaced before departure and never replaced. At 11:39 p.m., lookout Frederick Fleet spotted the iceberg. He rang the bell 3 times and called the bridge, "Iceberg right ahead." First Officer William Murdoch ordered an immediate turn and reversed the engines. It was already too late. At 11:40 p.m., the Titanic struck the iceberg along its starboard side. The collision lasted just 10 seconds. Those 10 seconds opened a 300-foot gash across 6 watertight compartments. The ship was designed to stay afloat with 4 compartments flooded. 6 were now filling with water. Thomas Andrews, the ship's architect, who was on board, inspected the damage and came back with one quiet, devastating conclusion. She will sink in 1 to 2 hours. He was right. The sinking, 2,224 people, 1,178 lifeboat seats, 3:10 to 4:15. The Titanic carried lifeboats for 1,178 people. There were 2,224 people on board. Even that was not the worst part. The first lifeboat lowered had a capacity of 65 people. It left with 28. Crew members were not properly trained. Officers were not sure of the correct procedure. And many passengers, still not believing the ship could sink, refused to board the small wooden boat suspended high above a freezing ocean. Class played a brutal role in who survived. First-class passengers were guided directly to the lifeboats. Many third-class passengers, mostly immigrants, were physically blocked from the upper decks by locked gates. The survival rate tells the story plainly. 60% of first-class passengers survived. 44% of second-class survived. Only 25% of third-class passengers made it out alive. At 2:20 a.m. on April 15th, just 2 hours and 40 minutes after impact, the Titanic slipped beneath the surface of the Atlantic. The water temperature was 28 degrees Fahrenheit. Without a lifeboat, survival took away that night. Its crew saw the Titanic's distress rockets, 8 of them, fired into the night sky. They did nothing. The wireless operator was asleep. The captain, Stanley Lord, was informed but took no action. Had the Californian responded, almost every single person on the Titanic could have been saved. There is another secret even fewer people know. Some researchers and investigators have argued for decades that the steel used in the Titanic's hull, produced cheaply and under time pressure, was far more brittle than standard marine steel. When it hit the near-freezing water, instead of bending, it shattered. The budget was cut. The timeline was rushed. The warnings were ignored. Every single disaster had a human decision behind it. 1,517 people died that night. Not from a storm, not from an act of God, from arrogance, from the belief that human beings had built something beyond failure, from the choice to move fast instead of moving safely, from a system that valued a rich man's dinner over a poor family's life. The Titanic did not sink because of an iceberg. The Titanic sank because of the decisions made long before it ever hit that ice. Today, the Titanic lies 12,500 feet below the surface of the North Atlantic. It is slowly dissolving, claimed by bacteria, by salt, by time. But what refuses to dissolve, what history refuses to let go of, is the lesson.